Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Seeds of Success. My name is Dottie San Martin, and today I have Natasa Kipper, our Training Services Manager at Cubica AMF, joining me today. Welcome, Tasha.
Hi, Dottie.
You know, Tasha, this is one of my favorite topics, but I know this is something that's really near and dear to you. And we're going to be talking a little bit today about knowledge and the value of knowledge and how really equipping your employees with the proper knowledge is really the first place that the customer experience starts. And so we're just going to dig right in and we're going to talk a little bit about making sure that you have the knowledge instilled in your employees that they need to properly do their job and provide the service that you want your customers to receive. So starting out, you know, you want to make sure that your employees are knowledgeable, especially now. I mean, you know, Tasha, with going into a restaurant and the way that you normally order your food today is quite different than it used to be. So one of the areas that I feel that we need to make sure our employees are knowledgeable on is policies, right?
Absolutely, Dottie. And like you said so yourself, today is even more important than it used to be before, especially when we consider all of the restrictions and new mandates and guidelines that everybody has to follow. As a consumer, it's very challenging when we go to a business, whether it be a restaurant, a bowling center, a family entertainment center, and we're told one thing by one employee and then sometime later told something entirely different by somebody else. It could be very frustrating, and therefore the image of that business is changed in the eye of a consumer.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's really an important point to make, is the consistency in that message. You want to make sure that your employees are all adhering to the same policies, that they don't interpret that policy differently. You want to make sure that they're all speaking the same language, if you will. So I think that's something that we need to be mindful of, is what are they telling the customers about the policies?
Absolutely, Dottie. And consistency obviously being a very important thing, especially when it comes to employees that are facing the customers, and not only understanding what the rules and regulations and policies are, but also understanding how to communicate that with their customers in the best way. You also give an impression of a well-run operation, professionalism, well-trained staff. You as a customer then feel that this business really is investing in making sure their employees are doing the right thing. And so automatically you have a much better image.
Right. You're exactly right. It all becomes a part of your brand, you know, and that consistency and that, you know, knowing right away what the policy is and not having hesitation, it sends out a really good message. Another area that's very important for the employees to have an abundance of knowledge is with the programs and promotions that you're running. If you are, you know, if you have a special on a Friday night and, you know, it's a pizza bowl, for example, you want to make sure that if somebody comes in and they're asking about certain promotions, that your staff is aware. They're aware of the details. They are aware of the night that it is. They're aware of what your website might say or what your social media might say, and they're completely knowledgeable of everything that you have to offer.
Absolutely. And you know, I gotta tell you, one of my biggest pet peeves, when you get a coupon someplace, whether it's a bounce back or in a magazine or elsewhere, it doesn't matter, online, and you go in and try to use that coupon and the person's like, oh, I don't know, let me check with my manager.
Yes.
And I always think, how do they not know?
I mean, definitely sends out a bad signal.
Absolutely. And then that employee inevitably comes back and says, oh, they just did something that, you know, they didn't tell me. Like, nobody wants to take responsibility for it. And that just looks terrible.
Yes. And you know, it's really interesting because it's not hard for an employee to make sure that they're up to date on everything. And what I like to encourage people to do is have your staff members go through your website on a routine basis. Have them go to your social media page and look through your social media page. That serves two purposes. Number one, it can be a double check for you to make sure that everything is in place and on your website everything's linked properly and all that. But it also serves as a way to give them the proper knowledge on what you're doing. So it's an easy fix. So, that's what I would say. Drive your people to, the places where they can easily get it, and also let that serve as a double check for you. So
absolutely.
It's always a bad thing to see a typo on a website.
Right. And along the same lines, as managers, proprietors, leaders, it is our responsibility to communicate any changes, any additions to our offering with our staff. That's the first step. Once we get in the habit of doing that and making sure they have all of the information that they need to do their jobs well, eventually they will start making more effort as well.
Of course. And when you equip your employees with the proper knowledge, it makes their job a lot less stressful. It makes it enjoyable. You find that there's less turnover. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we've seen this time and time again. When you have to retrain people and everything, it's just the experience is for at least temporarily, it's a little bit changed for some people that come in, but I think that you'll find that it really gives them the confidence that they need to be able to do the best job that they can. Another area that I think is really interesting, and this is where I really like to get in and dig around, is to help your employees gain knowledge of who the customer is. Get to know that customer. Find out, a little bit about them. There's so much to be said about a personal experience these days. And especially, the pandemic has taught us the value of communication, the value of relationships. Mm-hmm. And when you can help your employees learn a little bit about the people that they're serving, it really just sets the tone for a much better experience. Get to know what league they're on and what shoe size they are, or what their name is at the very least. And now with the modern scoring systems, it's easy to look up at a league bowler and see what their name is, so you can really cheat when you do that. But one of the biggest areas that we need to be mindful of is the importance of knowing how to maneuver the system that they have to utilize to take care of the customer properly. And there's, sometimes you feel like you've trained them and it's good enough, or you've shared how to do this one time and that's good enough. But when it comes to the knowledge that they need for the system, sometimes that one time and that good enough is just not good enough for the experience that your customer deserves. So, as the training services manager, I know that you have an opinion on this, and I would love for you to share just how valuable that is to be properly trained.
Absolutely, not just for efficiency of a staff member and being able to execute what needs to be executed in a bowling center, family entertainment center on a daily basis. We like to take it a step further. Understanding how your system, particularly the scoring system in our scenario, but any system, any software, your POS system for your restaurant, how that piece of software can help you actually serve your customers and increase that customer experience or improve it in some ways is also very important. Aside from knowing how to quickly open and close lane, or make certain adjustments on the lane, lane options or scoring grid, stuff like that, actually knowing how to solve customer problems by utilizing that system goes a long way. Years ago, place I used to work at, we once overheard a customer saying, oh, how are we going to split this check to 5 people? They were trying to do the math, and we're like, no, hold on. We can just split it up in the system, and it'll tell you exactly how much a person's going to pay. You don't have to do all that work.
I'm sure their jaws dropped.
Best thing, right? The best thing ever. Or, a person that comes in for practice or, wants to, for whatever reason, track the, ball speed and may not know that the software can do this. Your frontline employees be knowledgeable about those kind of things and having the ability to understand truly what the system can do for them and their customers can go a really long way.
Absolutely.
And also then understanding for that employee, for that staff member, how they can help the customer and ultimately help your business deliver the best possible experience by being knowledgeable about some of these things. This is not like a huge thing. You have to spend hours of training somebody, but incrementally throughout the day, throughout the week, having exposure to some of these things, learning along the way will work for one person. Maybe that person can share it with everybody else, because how often do you experience some of these things? Kind of focusing on some of those small, or not small, but smaller elements of training, ongoing training that doesn't have to be formal, doesn't have to be classroom style, doesn't have to take away from their shift or your day to focus on this. Getting in habit of implementing some of those pieces could really go a long way.
Tasha, the other thing that does is that kind of shows the employee that you are investing in them, that you are trying to make sure that they're equipped with all the resources and tools that they need to make their job easier and less stressful. And, it also allows for more convenience for the customer. And we all know that, convenience is something that everybody expects these days. They don't want it to be a hassle to do business with you. And by making sure that the employees know, all these little things that they can do within their system that makes life much better and easier for the customer, those are the things that we need to make sure that they know how to utilize those and put them to use.
Absolutely.
So, well, great. Well, Tasha, I really appreciate you being on the show. Are there any closing remarks that you would like to make?
I do want to point out one more thing. We often talk about training and showing employees things that they should be doing, keeping them informed and stuff like that. But I want to talk for just a quick second about culture versus compliance. They're two very different things. And when we talk about compliance, is the employee showing up to work on time? Are they clocking in and out when they're supposed to, avoiding overtime, all those kind of things. And they're very important and they need to happen on a daily basis. And we all understand that. And we all spend a lot of time training our staff how to do these things. But something that's even in some cases more important is the culture of the team and also individual employees. And how we cultivate that and how we encourage our staff to do the right thing, make the right decision, take the responsibility for themselves, to understand that it's not just my job to do what I'm told to do. While it is, I also should take personal responsibility and pride in what I do. You want them to want to serve your customers well, to execute your policies well. Not just because you told them to do so, but because it's the right thing to do.
And they want to.
Yes, absolutely. And often I see people trying to change the culture of the entire group, but meanwhile, they haven't attempted to cultivate that with their individual staff members, because everybody's different. They all have different backgrounds, different education, different life experiences, that if you just spend a little bit of time cultivating that for every single employee, eventually everything falls into the right place, and then you can focus on the group effort. So just something to think about when we talk about knowledge and customer experience, and how we can utilize our biggest asset, our staff members, to help drive forward that mission.
And when you can get the employees wanting to see success for the center and wanting to see the center grow, that's an amazing feeling. I mean, it's such an amazing feeling to know that you have accomplished that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I really appreciate you being here. I hope that this little seed has been enlightening for our listeners today. And, you know, go out and really analyze the amount of knowledge that your staff members have and just kind of assess the situation and see if there's areas that you might be able to work with them that would, you know, create a better experience and generate more confidence in your employees. So anyway, we appreciate the time that you've shared with us today, and we want our listeners to remember, the more you know, the more you grow. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for joining us here at Seeds of Success.